Alright, what is going on, my dudes? It has been a very long time since we made an update to the best champs to put 6 stones into video, alright? And now, since the last time that we made this video, oh my goodness gracious, 6 stones have exploded. You can get so many, especially if you play Battlegrounds, they're in Eternity of Pain, there's more in story content, etc, 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 and the side quests, all this stuff, right? So 6 stones are becoming more abundant, so it's easier to take 6-star champions all the way up to 200 if you really want to. So we're going to jump in today and start going over the best champions, the top champions, good options, and debatable options to use 6 stones for, okay? So we're going to start with the skill class, and the skill class is really interesting to me, man, because the only champion who the only really good skill champion who really benefits from high SIG is Valkyrie, and she's new, and at the time of uploading this, most people still don't have her. She hasn't been in the feature crystal yet, but you know, like I always say, these videos tend to keep performing well over time, right? So we'll put her on the top of the list. It's so interesting. There are a lot of good options, a lot of debatable great options as well, but Valkyrie really does get a really nice boost the higher her SIG is. It allows her to counter that unstoppable, purify those debuffs, and go stun immune as well. Really solid stuff. Very unique way of countering unstoppable, which is a very important ability to have, and also being pretty much completely stun immune. Really nice. So jumping into some of the good options here for 6 stones, we have Crossbones. Really great SIG ability. Definitely not needed for damage, but just really nice to have a 90% chance to shrug off debuffs all the time, which is really great at SIG 200. At SIG 20, it's a 50% chance, so I wouldn't be running to put 6 stones into him. But the thing is, with the skill champions, like I said, so many of them just don't need a super high SIG, so if you have some skill stones around, you want to take Crossbones to rank 4, I think he could be a good investment, something I'm personally considering doing. Stealthy definitely does not need it, right? But he gets a nice damage boost if you're a stealthy fan. That passive fury, you get the higher damage output. Ragnagod here, we got our buddy Thor. Now, of course, Thor is a prestige option, as is Valkyrie, by the way. But, you know, Thor just gets more attack the higher you get. Same thing as stealthy. That's pretty much a theme with the skill champions here, because Mole Man as well, the higher your SIG gets, just the more attack you get. So these past 3, you do not need the 6 stones, but if you want to take one of these champions to rank 4, even rank 3, right, they definitely benefit nicely from it. OG Black Panther, great champion to put 6 stones into. He gets increased, increased defensive ability accuracy reduction up to 100% in Panther's Might if you have 5 bleeds on them, which is really nice. Very great champion for sure. And also, the time when you intercept, you shrug off 1 of each debuff, and at SIG 200, I believe it's a 1-second cooldown, which is very powerful. So yeah, OG Black Panther for sure, great champion to have 6 stones into. And then down to debatable, we have Blade, because Blade really doesn't need to be above SIG 1, man. At SIG 1, you're kind of good to go with that regen, dude. So I wouldn't want to put 6 stones into Blade. Aegon, I feel like there's a myth that Aegon needs to be at a high SIG. Yeah, he needs to be at a high SIG for Act 6, Act 7, Act 8 type content, but I really don't enjoy him for that type of content. And for stuff like Abyss, where you're going to be using Aegon, right, he's fine at SIG 40, SIG 60, so I wouldn't want to put 6-star SIGs into him. I'd rather use 1 or 2 extra revives ramping him up for the entire path. And then Kingpin, his nice sweet spot is SIG 65, so isn't debatable because, you know, I really wouldn't want to take him all the way to 200. Basically, the way he works, SIG 1, 65, and 200 are his breakpoints. So he's going to get 2 rage at SIG 1, 3 rage at 65, and 4 rage at SIG 200. So if you are a Kingpin fan, though, you have Kingpin ranked up, you use him a lot, I would recommend you take him up to SIG 65, okay? That's why he's debatable, not in top options to bring him to SIG 200. Of course, if he's your favorite champion and you use him all the time, then yeah, 200 could be a good idea. But otherwise, if you just want him to be at a nice spot, 65 is a good spot. Up next, Science. Spidey and Quicksilver. Spidey, just the higher your SIG, the higher chance your Rupture is going to reapply, the more damage. SIG 200 Spidey, absolute beast. He scales really nice. Quicksilver, really solid SIG ability for sure. Of course, he's also top 3 prestige, so, you know, definitely not the worst place to put 6 stones into. It's nice to have that terminal velocity duration increased. Also, the combat power rate on the defender while they're stunned, it decreased. It just allows you to be more aggressive and allows you a little bit more breathing room in your rotation. For good options in science, a lot of good options, man. Thing, super duper cheesy, especially with incursions coming back, right? Cap Infinity War, still an absolutely amazing champion. I brought my Cap to SIG 200 a few weeks ago. He's an absolute beast. He's a lot of fun to play with. A little bit outdated at this point, kind of, but not outdated in a way where it's like not worth it. They're just like, you know, like I'd rather put SIG stones into Spidey or Quicksilver, you know what I mean, before putting them into Cap Infinity War is what I mean. Same thing for Thing, but they're both amazing champions. Mr. Fantastic, great option for SIG stones, especially if you love the champion very, very much. He does not need a high SIG, but it definitely benefits his combat power right there. Void definitely needs the SIG stones, man. I mean, is he usable without it? Yeah. But he really misses a lot of damage, and without that damage increase, I feel like there are better options to use him for anything you would use him for. Overseer, awesome champion, man. Really awesome champion. Increases your burst damage. Definitely a solid option for SIG stones. And for debatable, we have Scorpion and Spot. Scorpion, amazing, underrated SIG ability. But he doesn't need it to be super duper high SIG. It comes into play very often in Alliance, War, and Battlegrounds. So if you don't play those competitive modes, definitely I wouldn't put too many SIG stones into him. Because there's SIG 1, you can block those unblockable specials. Really solid stuff. Spot, too new, but great champion, right? And he's going to definitely get a nice benefit from the SIG stones, increases burst damage, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm sure as time goes on, the next time we make this list, he'll probably jump up a spot. But yeah, up next in Mystic, Dr. Doom and Rintra. So Doom, man, I feel like Doom gets his SIG ability gets a bit of a bad rap, and people are like, oh, if it wasn't for prestige, no one would give him SIG stones. Well, I don't know, man. I feel like every now and then, we like maybe like once per Eternity of Pain cycle, we get like people are like, oh, I just Dr. Doom cheesed him. Well, you can't cheese things with Doom if he's not SIG 200. Okay, so Doom does have a really nice ability and very niche uses where he's going to be completely cheesing the fight, man. So that's always very, very solid. Plus, he does have a top 5 prestige in the game still, and he probably will for a very, very long time. And he's an absolutely amazing champion. Rintra, if you've been watching the videos on my channel, I think we can skip the Rintra at this point. I mean, the dude's an absolute monster, and he's secured his place as a top Mystic champion in the entire game, in my opinion. Diablo and Tigra, Mojo, and Wiccan for good options. Diablo does not need to be super high SIG. Does not need it, but it definitely does get a nice damage reduction and also get a nice damage increase. Specifically, I mean, especially if you're on the Suicide Masters. If you don't, I would not personally invest in Diablo. Tigra for sure wants to be at a high-ish SIG, man. If you are not a super mega ultra beyond god tier Tigra player, I would not recommend you put the SIG stones into her. But if you have put the time in to master Tigra, of course, starting the fight with increased duration on the senses is going to be very, very useful. Mojo, my Mojo is SIG 1. I like him there, right? He's super solid there, but the higher your SIG, the more damage you're going to get from your Fury, so really, really nice if you're a big Mojo fan. Wiccan definitely really likes that SIG ability a lot. It really helps his damage output for sure, and it also, because it increases the probability you're not going to consume a shock when you put an Incinerate on, which is going to increase his overall damage and allow you to place more plasma. So if you're a Wiccan fan, right, if you're playing around with him, if you pull him in the new feature and you like him, you get him duped, right, you want to take him up, might be a good idea to put some SIG stones in him. For debatable, Spidey Supreme, just too new. Essentially, how it works is he has 3 blessings, and each blessing gets increased potency of something. You get an extra benefit per each blessing with the higher SIG you get. So if you're a fan of Spidey, it's going to be a good thing to put 6 stones in them. Too new, just like Spot. All right? Up next, Cosmic, Hercules. Moving on, we have the good options here. King Groot, the dude's an absolute immortal beast. Even like it's even like, honestly, man, like taking him to 200 might be overkill, just because like, I mean, like you're basically immortal at like SIG 100. At SIG 65, I believe you're healing 10% per cycle. So like SIG like 100 is probably like 15%, and SIG 200 is like 20%. It's absolutely nuts, man. So the sustainability on King Groot, probably the most sustainable champion in the game. I do believe Red Deadpool is technically like has better regen, but I mean like he also kind of sucks, and King Groot is a good champion. So you know, Angela, I believe it's SIG 171 or SIG 181, possibly 182 is her breakpoint, where you're pretty much never going to see damaging debuffs unless there's a node that increases their duration or whatever it is. So yeah, Angela, definitely a solid option for 6 stones if you are a fan of the champion. Gallon has a great sweet spot of SIG 120, which pretty much makes him the best penny parker counter in the entire game. That's absolutely a solid breakpoint for Gallon. If I get Gallon, I'm taking him to SIG 120. Yeah, Gallon, amazing champion. Null gets better the higher SIG you get, man. He does not need to be awakened in the first place, but starting the fight with more of your Living Abyss debuffs is absolutely great. It's absolutely a great thing and allows you to ramp up much faster. Silver Surfer still got very high prestige, top 5 prestige, and if you're a fan of the character, it's going to increase the potency of all of his buffs by 50%. So definitely not the worst use of Cosmic 6 stones, right? Not the best champion in the game, but if you like him, if you're going to take him up for prestige, well, obviously you have to put 6 stones into him. But yeah, all right. Up next in debatable down here, we have Captain Marvel movie and a Hulkling. So Captain Marvel movie just a little bit outdated at this point. Definitely still usable. A nice sweet spot is around like 672 for her, right? But Hulkling, amazing champion. Very solid rank 4 option. He definitely gets better. He definitely gets better with the higher SIG you give him, but he also does not need it whatsoever. He's worth ranking unduped in my opinion. It increases the duration of his buffs, it increases block penetration. It's definitely nice to have. But yeah, he's a very solid champion unduped, and he definitely does not need the SIGs, man. All right, up next, Tech. Lots of options in Tech, actually, believe it or not. Top options, Ghost, self-explanatory, one of the best champions in the entire game. Nimrod gets better with every SIG you get him, man, increases the potency of all of his special attack effects, right? Plus he goes unblockable with the specials, really solid ability. Infamous Iron Man, #1 prestige in the entire game. One of the best champs in the game, in my opinion, currently. Really solid champ. The higher SIG you get, you're going to get more regen when you drop below a certain amount of health. Also, you get increased, I believe, block proficiency. Yeah, block proficiency and also energy resistance with the higher SIG you get. So definitely really nice ability there. Up next for good options, lots of them. Guardian really wants to be SIG 200, man. Really wants to be SIG 200. Has the best energy resist in the game. Also got a nice critical resist, which is more of a defensive ability. Then you have bleed resistance as well. If you run Coagulate, you're going to be pretty much completely immune to those bleeds or resistant to the bleeds. Really solid stuff there. Guardian, really great champion. Omega Sentinel still has really solid prestige. She's not in top 5 anymore. I would not recommend you put SIG into Omega Sentinel. I've never recommended that you invest heavily into Omega Sentinel. Not changing that now. She does get higher energy resistance the higher SIG you get, which is definitely nice, and also increases the, what is it exactly with their armors? Right. So for every armor that you consume with your special attack, you have an up to 50% chance to gain another armor, which is definitely nice for ramping her up. All right. Silver Centurion, solid at SIG 1, turns all your debuffs into passives, but the higher you get, the higher your block efficiency is going to be during lock-on, which is definitely nice to have, especially if you're a fan of this guy and want to stay close to the opponent. Starkey, man, is a really solid champion still. He scales really nicely as a 6-star, and if you're a big fan of the champion and want to take him up, then yeah, man, he could definitely be worth some 6 zones, I think, for sure, man. He's a really solid champion. Ultron, man, has so many immunities, and he gets more pseudo immunities when you have him at a high SIG. So he's already bleed, poison, and slow immune. And then with his SIG ability, first of all, any sort of energy resistance, right? Beam, special attack, stuff like that, you're going to be healing a lot of it back, the damage, energy damage that you take on the block. On top of that, incinerate and shock effects, they're going to be reduced the debuff time duration by quite a bit the higher your SIG goes. Sam Wilson, his biggest con is that he definitely is lacking some damage, and even at SIG 200, you have to get him at a high SIG to get that higher damage, and even then he has lower damage output, so he's more so suited for Battlegrounds type content. If you don't play competitive modes like Battlegrounds or Alliance War, I would not recommend putting things into him, but if you're a big fan of the champion and you use him places, he definitely wants to be a high SIG, especially for power control as well. Debatable, Warlock and Vision, man. So Vision for sure, really solid power control, but he does need to be really high SIG, and he does not have the best damage output in the game, right? But he's definitely very powerful if you use him properly. Warlock, man. Warlock does not need to be at a high SIG, but if you use him for Battlegrounds or Alliance War, right, it definitely is nice to have, so that's why he's in debatable there. For Mutants, we have... Do we have anyone? We totally do. Omega Red, man, SIG 200, just an absolute freaking monster, especially if you run him with the Suicides and you have the Sabretooth synergy, just melts every single thing in his path, man, except for robots. He's so good, still an absolute top champion in my opinion. For good options, we have Kitty Pryde, Colossus, and Namor. Kitty Pryde, it's a bit of a niche ability, man. SIG 1, she's like kind of good to go. Yeah, I'm gonna drop her down to debatable. She just doesn't need the high SIG, man. She doesn't need it. It's for stuff where, like, if you're going to be, like, having your miss countered, you get additional combat power rate. It just doesn't happen too often, man. That's why it's debatable. SIG 1, you have that, like, mega damage, 100% reduction, and really solid stuff there, man. So, yeah. Colossus, if you're a Colossus fan, man, the higher the SIG, the more damage you'll ultimately end up getting with the armors and everything like that. Namor, one of the best SIG abilities in the entire game, man. Even as a 5-star, if you don't have your 6-star Namor, don't want to put SIGs into him, right? Get your 5-star Namor if you have him up to SIG 200, get him ranked up. You're gonna want that Namor when you need him. Now, in debatable over here, we have Professor X, Strife, and Kitty Pryde. So Professor X definitely does not need the SIGs, but it increases his damage output in the end ultimately, right? Kitty Pryde we already talked about, and Strife, if you want to use him for casual questing in like even like Act 7, Act 8, even Act 6 if you're still on that, right? Or if you want to use him in like Alliance War, right? He's going to be able to ramp up a lot faster without having to go from the special, for the special 3 every fight, right? And just by playing normally, and you can just ramp up after each fight. So this is my list for the best SIG stones, the best champions to invest SIG stones into currently in MCOC. Yeah, I feel pretty confident with this list, man. Thought about it quite a bit, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this, man. You know, SIG stones are becoming a lot more common, so if you want to toss them into someone like OG Thor, right, get them up to SIG 200, have some fun. Not the craziest thing in the world at this point, man. If you play Battlegrounds even like semi-competitively, like even if you just go through the victory track, right, you're going to be getting a lot of SIG stones from that, man. A lot of SIG stones every single month. So not the craziest thing anymore, in my opinion, to throw some SIG stones into like a guilty pleasure rank of champion, especially once you've gotten like all these guys up and SIG'd up, man, you know, all the ones up here. But yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a big old like. Let me know what you think about this, and let me know your next SIG investment in the comment section below, and I'll be seeing you around.